And now, after damn near 50 minutes of me talking, we actually start talking about the game's story, about its narrative, its story, and its characters. Oh boy. So, I'm going to be completely honest. When I am doing these videos and I'm talking about like the narrative and the gameplay, 90%, probably like 95% is just me going off my own memory of the game. There will be some things I kind of double check, like when I was talking about the crafts earlier and how they got nerfed. I actually did double check, like how much actually did they get nerfed, like what were some of the percentages of abilities and such. But when I'm talking about the story, I don't want to actually look up what happened in the game. This is from memory, because that shows to me how memorable was this story. How well do I remember the sequence of events? With, excuse me, like Sky, FC, and SC, I feel like I remember them very well. And like I played these like a couple, like in sequence, like before Zero and Azure. Zero, I remember pretty okay. Cold Steel 1 and 2, relatively okay. Weirdly enough, Cold Steel 4 is kind of a blur. Like, I definitely remember, like, the segments. I was trying to say section and segment at the same time. But I kind of remember, like, those segments of the game. Cold Steel 3, I think, is kind of similar. Like, I sort of remember. I definitely remember Kuro. That's very fresh. Reverie was kind of its own weird mess. So, it kind of like the third. So, not really. All of that is suffice to say. Like, it's all lead up into saying how I don't fucking remember what happens in this game until, like, the finale. Okay, so I remember some of it, but there is, like, this massive chunk where I just don't know what happens. Like, the prologue of the game is, hey, there's some assholes from the last game who escaped from prison. Lloyd and Noel are gonna go get them. Like, you know, Arios is a temporary party member, Dudley is a temporary party member for this, and then partway through, it's just Lloyd and Noel. And the prologue is awful. I sincerely thought it was one of the worst parts of the entire series. And it mostly comes down to the fact that, I was like, where the fuck is the rest of the SSS? Why is it just Lloyd and Seeker? Now, as the game goes on, it's like, all right, this is what they've been up to. We're going to slowly integrate them. But I'm like, what the fuck? What is this shit? Where's the rest of my party? Why is Lloyd so weak? And also, why is he so weak? Like, where's all my shit? Now, it's generally a Trails tradition that in between a part 1 and part 2, you're going to reset. Like, you'll still keep, like, your crafts, but, excuse me. Oh, sorry, I just saw a squirrel and got distracted. But, like, you'll keep, I can actually see it in the video, too. But, like, you'll keep your crafts, but all of your sepith and your quartz are going to get reset. In Sky, Estelle is specifically told, hey, so the dude that kicked your ass, that Lawrence Louvet guy, he has access to shit that we don't have yet. And that is because the ornaments that he is using is an advanced version. And he's already kicking your ass. So if you stick with the model you are using, you are not going to catch up. So here's what you need to do. You need to get the new version. Unfortunately, the quartz you currently have are not compatible with it. So you are going to be weaker at the start. However, your potential for growth with this, at least when it comes to like spells, is going to be much larger and you can close the gap. Makes perfect sense why she would say okay. With Reen in Cold Steel 1 and Cold Steel 2. After the end of Cold Steel 1, he gets fucking yeeted like gajillion miles away into a mountain range. And it makes perfect sense to me that, yeah, like as he's fucking zooming across the world, he would wake up and be like, okay, like, some of my shit is missing or broken, and it got lost in the travel. Totally get that. Cold Steel 3 and Cold Steel 4. It's, yeah, some crazy shit happened, and, like, we woke up, and, you know, like, we had to get out of there really fast, so, again, like, some of our shit kind of got missing. Like, that one's a little more janky to me, but it's still, like, I can buy this. Zero and Azure is like, hey, so we have this really important mission because these two, like, very important, like, one, like, super important prisoner and one not so much. But, like, these two prisoners just escaped and they're trying to go, like, cross into another country where they will have diplomatic immunity. We have to get them now, and they need to pay for the things that they did. Also, one of them has, like, potentially has the Gnosis drug, which means he can turn into the final boss of the last game. He is a fucking danger. Also, the new equipment just came in, and none of your shit is compatible with it, so you're gonna just basically go in with the clothes on your back and not much else. There you go. Enjoy the mission. Wait, what? So you're telling me that we have this really important time-sensitive mission, and instead of me getting all of my... I just realized they did the fucking Zelda thing. Like the CDI Zelda. I'll get my stuff. There's no time. You have to go now. That is literally basically what happens. They're like, no, you have to go, and you have to use the new equipment that is not optimized or customized to you at all. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You would think that, like, as police officers who understand we gotta do this shit, they would take their shit that they probably have on them. It's not even like, you don't have time to get your crap. Dude, it's probably in Lloyd's fucking pocket. What? Like, what if for the reset, it's, no, you have all your shit, and during the fight, it breaks. It's like, you start off really strong, and then, like, okay, you lose your shit, you kind of got to start over again. Or, like, hell, maybe it's, like, part of the fight, like, Lloyd gets really fucked, and that's why, like, Burning Heart doesn't quite work anymore. Like, he's actually injured for part of the game. He has to, like, get back, like, I don't know, I'm kind of spitballing, like, off the top of my head, but at least give me a reason for why I'm weaker. Give me a reason for why I can't bring my good shit to this really important mission. Sky did. Cold Steel has a believable scenario where I can understand, yeah, I wouldn't have, maybe not have all my shit. Azure doesn't, and it just took me out of it really hard. And I remember, because I had just played Cold Steel 2, the Sky Trilogy, 0, and then started with this. I was like, wow, I know this is just the prologue, but wow, the writing here is awful. Oh man. Should I take a break? Because I've just played 5 of these games in a row. This is going to be number 6. And it's not leaving a good first impression. It's going to get better. And it does. And I'm like, man, maybe I should take a break. And that is like the only time while playing these games that I thought, maybe I should do other shit. Aside from like beating Cold Steel 1. But that wasn't part of the marathon. This was part of me, like, I'm playing all these games, it's like, this is apparently the best one, and it is not starting off great. Do I have to? Do I have to play Azure? And then you get the next chapter, which is the trade conference. I do remember that's next, and it's like a few months later. You have, I think, some of your party members back. I know you have Ellie. I think Randy is there for the trade conference. I genuinely don't remember if Tio is. So Crossbell is in between 2 countries. You have the Erebonian Empire, the Califord Republic. Crossbell is a city-state in the middle, and it is a puppet of both of them. Essentially, while these 2 countries are having their, like, proxy battles, those battles take place in Crossbell, and Crossbell feels the pain. It is, like, the political corruption is incredibly high because both countries have their hands in Crossbell's cookie jar. And whenever Crossbell, like the Zero and Azure, like whenever the Crossbell arc is dealing with that aspect of how, like, the political landscape is very tense, you never really know who to trust, and it is just this shithole, absolutely love it. So then, with that being said, it is no surprise that the trade conference is one of the best parts of Crossbell. I don't want to say it is the height of Crossbell, because you've got, like, the final chapter of this game, final chapter of the last game, and I would say chapter 3 of the last game, because that's the Black Auction, as well as all the shit they do with Ren, that is, like, narrative-wise my favorite part of Crossbell. I love the trade conference. This is one of my favorite chapters of the entire series. Like, I can say that, no question whatsoever. But, like, a bunch of shit happens there. There's, like, the political stuff, super interesting. Dieter Croy, who is now the mayor of Crossbell, is like, we're gonna be independent. Damn it, come hell or high water. And everyone's like, dude, we love you. We love that you did that. Maybe not the best decision. That was, like, that felt kind of dumb, but fuck damn it, we love you. We don't care. I'm like, this is great. Then it's a blur where I don't remember what the fuck happens. I remember the intermission where everyone goes to Michelin and you hang out at the beach, and it's just really fun and really pleasant. Also kind of a blur, unless this happens right after Michelin, but I remember there is a terrorist attack, and the Red Constellation attacks Crossbell. And, like, the IBC, which is the bank, it's like one of these big symbols of the city, is destroyed, it's burned to the ground. Shirley has figured out Rishia's identity, and she goes to start shit with her, which leads to Ilya, who is like Rishia's partner slash mentor slash rival slash really good friend slash sexual assailant. At least Ilya getting crushed by a chandelier. And also you find out Wald is a massive piece of shit, and he starts fucking up the slums that he once called home after turning into a giant demon. And once all this shit has happened, all this is cleared, I didn't really feel much. And I'm going to be completely honest about that. I think this is an incredibly hollow moment. The IBC blowing up is really cool on paper. Like, it's a cool scene. You're like, dude, that's crazy! Oh no, like, that's where I go and, like, I exchange my Sepith and make a lot of money. Not only did you blow up, like, a big part of the city, you got rid of, like, one of the most valuable parts of gameplay. Oh no, I can still do that. So, like, the massive gameplay thing that I would have lost is actually not lost at all. I mean, thanks, but that kind of takes away from the impact. And I mean, the building's gone, but I don't think, like, anyone died, so okay. Like, Wald fucking up the slums, like, oh, okay, but you, like, fucked up some shitty buildings. Like, did anyone die? No. Like, no one did, like, not to my knowledge. And there is a quest after, which is, like, you just kind of hang out in the slums for a bit and you help out. Like, you use a metal detector to find some stuff for them to rebuild. You kind of, like, work in a soup kitchen. It's one of my favorite quests in the game. That, along with going to Michelin with Tio, and she's, like, helping, like, you have to, like, be a good mascot, like, in Disney World, basically. And Tio, who is, like, the passionate Michi fan, which is, like, their version of Mickey Mouse, is like, this is how you do it. Make sure you do it right. Look, I think there's, like, 2 different Michelin quests that are, like, kind of like that. Maybe it is just one. It was amazing. It was absolutely hysterical. Like, that was really good. I really like the quest helping out the slums, because, like, this actually made me feel a little bit of the impact. Not as much as I would have liked, because I don't know how much was really lost, but that was a step in the right direction. With Ilya, I'm like, okay, a relatively, like, I don't want to say a major character, but, like, a recurring character that I know a lot of people in the story really care about. Like, I think she's okay. She's not my favorite, but I don't hate her. But a lot of characters that I know and like really care about this person. And she just died. That's huge. Oh, no, because the game goes out of its way to let you know that she survived. Oh, okay, so she's not dead. And like, well, that was a bad, like, that thing, like, fucking broke her back. I think it, like, fucked up her legs. Like, oh, like, her whole thing is she is a performer. She is a dancer. She's not going to be able to dance again. Like, that's a fate worse than death for something like her. That's some big fucking dire consequences. Oh, well, there you go. That's one way to leave an impact. No. The game, from what I remember, makes it pretty clear that, like, hey, you know, we're going to do what we can. Or, you know, there's maybe some hope for her. And Ilya's like, hey, I'm a fighter. I can fight through this. I will make a recovery. And when I specifically make a statement like that, you know it's going to be true. So it felt like the game was kind of telling me that's like, hey, we know this is a really big deal that leaves consequences, but don't worry, there won't actually be any lasting consequences. And from playing other games, I can confirm, yeah, she makes a full recovery and is completely fine. It's important that I make clear, I am not thinking, man, this person whose life would have been ruined became okay. This is awful. That's not the case. But it's the terrorist attack on Crossbell is presented as this huge moment. Like, it's hype. You have this, like, crazy fight with Sigmund. And He's presented as this huge threat. He just destroyed this building, which is a symbol of the city. Surely injured someone you guys care about. You think she's fucking dead. And when it's all said and done, it feels like it really lacks consequence. Yeah, the building is gone, but you still get its effect. Yeah, that character is hurt. They are going to make a full recovery. Yeah, Wall did, like, he kind of broke up some buildings, but I mean, like, that part does suck, but I'm just not that invested in Wald anyways. I'm just the entire time, like, this feels hollow. Like, you set up this really cool thing to happen, but didn't follow through on the emotional impact. I think I had, like, did I write down, because I remember making, like, a metaphor about it. Maybe, I think I just wrote down that how it feels hollow, but I thought I had, like, this really, like, strong metaphor for it, but I guess I just don't have it anymore, but I don't know, this isn't a strong metaphor, but think of it as like chewing a piece of gum. Like, you're chewing it, it's really good, it has, like, a nice flavor to it, and then after, like, once you kind of stop chewing on it, it's just nothing. Like, it's not, like, giving you any nutrition, it's not giving you any calories, it's just a thing, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, I think the terrorist attack is cool, but it leaves any real impact on me, and so I feel like it's just kind of a weak moment. So then a little bit after that, Lloyd and the SSS start getting really sussed out by the Croy family, do a bit of investigating, and find out that they hired the Red Constellation as a terrorist group. They hired the Red Con to attack the city. I don't remember all of the exact motivation stuff that was going on, but it was, we are behind a lot of the stuff that's happened. We are actually kind of behind the shit that happened in the last game, and we have convinced Kia to join us to help us for whatever the fuck. It's like for their plan. I remember what their plan is, but I don't know if they exactly say it at this point. Arios is now fully in their employ. He is in on it. Arios reveals that he is Guy's killer, which you later find out is not true. It's kind of one of those from a certain point of view, but not really kind of situations. And then you have a fight with Arios. If I remember correctly, it's not a fight that you have to win, but I did, and it's a really, really good fight, as I've already said. And then after that, the SSS gets separated. And you get into the final chapter, which is like a third of the game, if not more, because there's so much crap that happens. So in the final chapter, Lloyd is escaping from prison, with the super range version of Inevitable Struggle playing the entire time. And after you escape from prison, you start getting reunited with your party members. I don't remember the order. I want to say, I think Wazy is first, because you get reunited with Zeit. Then you get reunited with Wazy, who reveals that, oh, I'm actually a Dominion. I'm part of the church, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm super strong. Then I think it's Tio. And then I think it's Randy and Ellie. And I think Noelle is last, because I think Ellie was part of the group by the time we got Noelle. And then once the whole crew is I try to say group and crew together. So once the crew is together, they plan to steal the moon. So once the group is together, you're outside the city. There's a barrier around it. So you have to go to, that's like Stargazer Tower and, is it Moongaze Tower? I think Moon something. But you go to the Star Tower, fight I think you fight Campanella first. Then you go to the other tower and you fight the Stall Ritter, who in this game are just mooks. They're not really anything super special. And then you fight the Steel Maiden on top. Again, Campanella fight's phenomenal. Aryan Road fight's phenomenal. After those fights, you're able to go into the city. Then you go into Orcus Tower, which is the Croy's base of operations, and you find out that, yo, this place is crazy. Like, there's all kinds of shit going on in the bottom. It's this, like, giant tower. I remember how it looks. I can't super describe it, because I don't really remember how it's described in game. But it's like the super, like, mechanical, digital, magical ley line weird fucking thing, and you're like, oh, this is the final dungeon. It's not. But you do all that shit, you get to the top, you fight Dieter Croy in a mech, because why the fuck not, man? And after you beat him, You realize he is not the main antagonist of the game. He thought he was, but he was getting played not only by his daughter, Maribel, but by Ian Grimwood, who is the main antagonist and is the guy that, even though you thought he was your homie, is the dude who's been behind everything. His plan is to use Kia and her magical god powers, which is stuff that, like, I don't feel like this is bullshit, by the way. Even if it almost makes it sound like I think it's like an magical god powers. Like, no, this is all shit that's like explained. But for her to use her magical god powers to rewrite events of history because her powers involve manipulating causality to essentially make the world a better place. For example, it's like his family died as part of the bullshit between Erebonia and Calvard, and he wants it to be like, I want to be able to undo that and have my family back. Arios' wife died years ago. He wants to get his wife back. His daughter Shizuku was blinded in the incident that killed his wife. He wants his daughter to be able to see. Belle, she doesn't give a shit about any of this. She's just like, I'm an alchemist. I'm here for the science and like to kind of find out all this crazy shit. I'm good. I don't care about my family. And then Dieter Croy was just like, no, like I really want to make Crossbell a superpower. I want us to be on the level of Erebonia and Calvard. And with Kia's power, we can reach that. And they're like, no, that's not really what that's not what we're after. And your genuine love for Crossbell made you really easy to manipulate, buddy. So after that, the tree comes out. I don't really remember what the tree is for, except it's like their base of operations or some shit. But that is where you go and do the, now you go to the final dungeon, and in there you have several mini dungeons where you're fighting like a lot of the main antagonists of the game. You have a verbal confrontation with Grimwood, a boss fight against Belle, which I didn't bring up in the bosses, but what I really like about it is the way the map is set up. It reminded me of like a Fire Emblem map, which didn't matter because Tio had Genesis Flood, which hits everything for Ooga Booga, so get fucked, Belle, but I liked what they were going for. And then you get like the final boss fight when Kia goes crazy because shit happens and yada yada yada. So from what I remember, because again, I'm leaving out parts when it comes like the really character-specific stuff, because I'll talk about characters in a bit. That's basically the story. And from what I remember, because there's some bits missing that I just don't remember what the fuck happened. Like, when it's focusing on a lot of the political shit, I really like it. But there's a lot of moments that for me just don't leave a lasting impact, and the very end is one of them, and we'll get to that because it's character specific. Why I guess I might as well just go and talk about it since I'm talking about the plot and shit. I don't like Kia. That I think is probably a hot take. She is a child. She is a sweet, adorable child. Her portrait, she has this big old smile, and it's the most precious thing you've ever seen in your life. And all the members of the SSS adore her, basically, unless you are an antagonist and you see her as a plot device, because she is. You think she's the most precious, adorable kid that deserves every good thing. And that is true. She is a precious, adorable kid, and I want to see, good things happening to this child. She doesn't deserve to be manipulated and treated as a plot device and all that shit. Like, I want that to be clear. It's not that I'm like, wow, this child is fucking horrible and I can't stand her. I don't have a connection to her. And I think for me, it's twofold. One, her relationship with all the SSS members, at least to me, felt very cut and paste. The way she talks to Lloyd and interacts with Lloyd, exact same as with Ellie, Tio, Randy, Noelle, and Wazy. It's not like, oh yeah, these two, this is the shit that like they get up to and are like really close with. Or it's like they really bond over these couple things. Oh yeah, these two really bond over these couple things. If that is the case, I just don't remember. And there is a chance that that is what happened. That she actually has very unique relationships with everyone, and for whatever reason, it didn't stick out to me, or I don't remember. But I have to review what my experience was and what my memory of my experience was. And my memory of my experience is They all just think she's the most precious, adorable thing, and that's it. Which leads to the second problem, which is more a problem in Zero. Once they meet Kia, everyone is immediately smitten. They're like, oh, you are the sweetest, kindest. Okay, so you know that shit in Persona 4? Where, in the vanilla version of the game, not Golden, which I've never played, and I really want to because I love Persona 4. But when you meet someone in Persona 4, you start a social link with a party member. It's like, hey, they are now your friend. You formed a bond with them. They will now take a lethal hit for you. And there's that classic meme video where it's like, Yosuke is now your friend. Yosuke will now die for you. Which I think is great. I think it's absolutely hilarious. But, unironically, that's how the SSS react to Kia when they first meet her. It is just that sense of, you are the best thing ever. I love you. I would die for you. I will do anything for you. Not because it seems like you have made this, like we have made a strong connection. It's like they're being brainwashed. And come the end of the game, they might be. Like the way it's written, I don't know if it's a translation issue. Because I've yet to play the official translation of Zero, which has come out. And the official translation for Azure comes out next year. And I do want to play them both. Because I do still like these games. Even though, like, I'm going to have some things to say about Zero as well. Both good and bad. Clearly, I am having some bad things to say about Azure. I still really like the game. So far, it is I gave it sorry, my numbers were getting mixed up for a second. It is currently an 8.5 out of 10 going into narrative. So, like, it's gonna have a more than positive score. Like, I like the game. I like it more than I dislike it. However, there are issues. And the fact that this character and her relationship with everyone feels very samey and not unique. And it happens so fast. It feels hollow. Like, it doesn't feel like this actually has any real meaning or weight behind it. So when you get to the end of the game, and it's written in a way where it makes it sound like, yeah, you guys, this was something that was kind of forced on you. I'm like, oh, so the relationship is total bullshit. That's really interesting. But also it means, so I was right not to feel anything. So when Kia kind of loses her mind because they are now aware of it, that the relationship is bullshit, not in a way where she's like, they found out, fuck, and it's more just like, she seems like she's genuinely hurting because she's a child and she doesn't want her family to hate her. You know, she's very sympathetic, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's less that I don't like Kia, and it's more like I don't like the way she's used, because like she is a precious good child that deserves every good thing, except when I'm playing her Advantage Master in Cold Steel 4. I fucking hated her there, but nonetheless. She goes crazy, god powers go out of control, and she is the final boss. You fight her, you're trying to like calm her down, and when you do, you know that scene from Futurama where Nibbler goes, quickly everyone, out of the universe, like eats himself and yeets himself out of the universe? So Kia does that, and Lloyd essentially jumps in after her, and is just like, hey kiddo, so here's the thing. You are like, we love you and we want you home. No, you don't love me, it's all bullshit. No, it's not bullshit at all, we love you. Yes, it is, Lloyd. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I guess you're right. It's not. I'm like, no. Kia, I want you to be happy. Like, I want to believe this. I want to feel super invested in this relationship. But I don't. Because when you're saying that this is bullshit and that it feels like they were all manipulated into this, no, like, I think I hear the ice cream truck again. Yeah, there it is! I don't know if you can see it coming up, but yeah, I see it in the camera. The ice cream truck, baby! Anyways, getting distracted, which is a bad thing, because this video is fucking long already, and I'm not even done with the story. It feels very hollow to me, because it actually is. And then the game is going out of its way to say, no, it's not hollow, it's all real. I'm like, but nothing you've shown me shows that this relationship has any real depth or weight to it. It's all just kind of surface level fluff, and it's bullshit. So, I want this family to work out well, because I like them as individuals, and I feel like the SSS in general, like their bonds with each other, I buy, but I don't buy them with Kia. And boy, this falls flat and it just doesn't work. Also, with her causality powers, so the very beginning of Zero is like a very short playable section of the game's final dungeon. And then when you actually get to the final dungeon, it's different because Estelle and Joshua are now with you. And as you find out at the end of Azure, the reason for that is when the SSS went in by themselves, they fucking died. And then Kia rewrote reality to fuck with shit, essentially to get Estelle and Joshua over there to save them because she fucking loves them. So the ending of the game of Azure is the SSS confronting Grimwood and saying, "That's our kid. The last time a god was doing all this causality shit, it erased itself from existence because of the stress. You're trying to do that to our child. Fuck you, give her back." And Grimwood's like, "Hey guys, this is what we're trying to do. We're not trying to take over the world, have super weapons. We want to bring people back. Think about it. Think about the people you've... Also, sorry, I forgot about this. Grimwood is actually the one that killed Guy. He shot him in the back. And it seems like while he was fighting Arios, and the fight kind of ended, and they were... Almost seemed like they were making up and kind of making amends, and then Grimwood just went, murked him. And he's like, dude, we can bring Guy back. You think I was just gonna kill my homie for no reason? No, because I know we can do this. We can give you your brother. Ellie, your parents had their messed up marriage. We can fix that. Randy, you had a friend that died. All the crazy shit with your family. We could fix that. Tio, all the horrible things that happened to you can be erased. Noelle, you can get your father back. And Wazy, I think you're a character here. We can fix what went wrong in everyone's lives. Look me in the eye and tell me what I'm doing is wrong." And then, they give a speech where it's like, hey, yes, losing people hurts. I lost my brother. I feel like Lloyd's perspective. I lost my brother. We all lost shit. We had horrible fucking things happen to us and our families. And as much as I hate to say it, look at us now. We are able to stand here today as the people we are because of the things that have happened to us. Because of their sacrifices. Because of our own sacrifices. We are better people today because of the things that happened to us yesterday. And if you undo those things, as horrible as they are, and I will not disagree with you on that, you are cheapening those losses and those sacrifices. And I like that. I do, because it's kind of the thing in Persona 5 Royal, which I also fucking love. And I understand people looking at that kind of shit and going, no, you can get everything back. Come on, man. But I think as someone who has struggled a lot with my life and where my self-image, seeing how much I have improved, I would hate to go back to being the person I was yesterday. I would rather be the person I am now, and hopefully the person I can be tomorrow. But here's my problem with how it works in Azure, because to me, it doesn't. To use that word again, the SSS's, their stance feels hollow. Because they benefited from Kia's ability. That makes it come across, they're like, hey, oh man, it is now super dark. Whoa, whoopity whoops. Let's see if I can turn the light on. Okay, that's doable. We're gonna have to keep this on for a while. So, when they're saying, hey, their sacrifices made us the person, the people that we are today, and we're better people, blah, 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 I can get behind that. However, Grimwood is an attorney, and they talk about, he's a lawyer, he's a really good lawyer, he's this, really good savviness. Me, as a lawyer, my immediate thought is, okay, call them out on this, because, wait a second. You're saying that you guys are better people today because of the sacrifices, correct? Yes, we are. So, by your logic, Lloyd, Kia bringing you guys all back and using her power the same way I would want to use her power, that is a spit in the face to your sacrifices. Like, the fact that you four died trying to save her. Like, so then by, like, your logic, wouldn't Kia then be a better person for losing you guys? Wouldn't, I don't know, maybe Dudley, Orisha, Noelle, Wazy, friends of yours, would they not be then better people for losing you? Look at Cecile. You know, Guy's widow. I don't think they were ever technically married. I think they're his fiance. But, like, Guy's ex, someone that he loved deeply. Is she a better person for losing him? And then in that reality, she loses you as well. So what you're saying is, like, Cecile would have been a far better person because she lost two people she loved. Am I understanding you correctly? Like, that's what I wanted. It's call them out on this. And if their answer is, yeah, they are cheated, then it's like, that's a really weird and interesting answer, but it's like, all right, I guess we're being consistent here. Or I feel like what would probably happen is Grimwood would call them out, like, this is what I would want, him to call them out on and be like, now tell me, why is what I am doing wrong, but you, like, Kia saving you guys is okay? And for Lloyd just kind of take a second, really internalize it, and be like, you know what? You're right. The fact that we have benefited from Kia's ability while looking you in the eye and saying you shouldn't, it's hypocritical. It's excuse me. It's like, it's hypocritical. It's self-serving. So let me tell you this instead. That's my daughter. Give her the fuck back. And there you go. That's all you need. And, like, because that works. Now, again, for me personally, who didn't super buy into the relationship, it doesn't work as well. But do you see what I mean when I talk about, like, I think Azure is, like, one of the best games in the series, but I also think it's one of the worst? This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. Because on paper, this sounds really good and really effective. And I feel like for most people it was. I think a lot of people really buy the relationship that Kia has with the SSS. They think, like, the crazy shit that happens at this, like, end of the game is fantastic. And if that's what you feel, that's fucking great. I wish I felt that. Like, I wish I watched this scene and was like, man, this worked. Because if it did, yeah, Azure would probably be a top 3 game, like, no question, especially with the other shit it has going for it. But I'm like, this, for me, does not land. Why is Grimwood, the great attorney, letting them get away with this? Why does this relationship just not work? But, like, it's kind of like Reen and Crow, where, like, the writing feels like it is this incredibly strong relationship. And the fact that these two have to fight each other is this great tragedy, but they, like, barely interacted in Cold Steel 1, so when all this shit's happening in Cold Steel 2, I'm like, oh no! And so, like, don't get me wrong, like, Azure's not the only game, like, Zero and Azure combined, like, they're not the only games that have this kind of problem for me. Others do it too. But I think because it's the ending, it for me, it's just such a letdown. So that's the story part of the narrative. Then we move on to the characters. So I'm going to kind of just try to speed through this. The villains, bit of a mixed bag. I think Wald sucks. I just never got into him. Dieter, I think, is pretty cool. He's pretty interesting. Belle is okay. I don't love her. I don't hate her. The Ouroboros characters, like Novartis, doesn't really do much. Arian Road is super cool. Love her boss fight, but she just feels like she's kind of there, so I don't get super into her, but I think she's cool. I like her a lot more in the Cold Steel games. Campanella is a treat whenever he is on screen. That never changes. And I think the only villain I am missing is Arios. Arios is one of my favorite characters. No, I didn't say anything about Grimwood. Grimwood disappointed me because as a lawyer, I wanted him to rip them apart. Aside from that, I do like him. I really like his motivation of, I want to fix my family. Please let me do that. And I think he just gave up too easily. Arios is one of my favorite characters in the series. I don't think he's a top 10, but he's like top 15, top 20, like for sure. I think he's one of the more interesting antagonists. I think like he's super cool. I love that he is just a good dad. Like he adores his daughter, and his entire motivation is, I want to bring my wife back, and I want to give my daughter her eyes back. I know what I'm doing is fucked. And I fought Guy over this, and he like nearly convinced me to give it up. But then Grimwood shot him. And at that point, I had no reason to stop. My friend and partner, not in a sexual way, but like they were cops together. It's like my friend and partner is gone. My wife is gone, and my daughter can't see. I need to do something to fix this. That's fantastic. I think I love that motivation. Like, there's a lot of complexity to Arios, on top of the fact that he's fucking cool. Okay, so I did forget a couple of antagonists. I realized I didn't say anything about Sigmund or Shirley. Sigmund is okay. Like, he's just a cool thing that you fight, for all intents and purposes. Like, he's a good personal antagonist to Randy. And it's like, this is the kind of thing Randy can become, and like a... how did I want to say that? Like a warning, essentially. Shirley. Bloody Shirley is like my guilty pleasure Trails character, because I fucking love her. Shirley is all about three things: cats, fighting, and boobs. And I also like all three of those things. Her first scene does not leave a good impression to me, because she just like shows up, fondles Ellie, and that's it. I'm like, oh great, just more sexual harassment. Yay, we love that. But aside from that, I'm like, dude, she's fucking hilarious. Like, she's having a good time. She's having so much fun. Like, her whole thing with Risha is she's like, this person's really strong. I want to fight her. But she's holding back. What can I do to piss her off to make her, like, really come at me? I should kill her friend! Duh! And I think Sigmund at one point is talking to her, and he's like, hey, kiddo, because it's his daughter. He's like, I know you really want a good fight. You know, like, we've got this walled dude on board. Like, why don't you fight him? Well, because he's weak. Like, he needs pills to be able to get it up. Like, he ain't shit. He's nothing without his pills. I want someone who's actually strong. And yeah, the fact that her palace like changes on a dime because you can never get a beat on her personality is great. And the fact that, yeah, when she shows up in Cold Steel 3 and 4, she's still great. Like, she's just, when she's just roasting Cedric constantly in Cold Steel 4, she's like, dude, my weapon has the same name as your Divine Knight, and I feel so embarrassed for my weapon having to be beside you. Like, damn, dude, she just fucking killed that man. Like, oh my gosh, I love this character. So, like, the villains, a bit of a mixed bag, but I would say, like, Arios and Shirley really elevate them. Okay, so I had to get out of the car because it is way too dark. You can barely see me, even with the lights on. So for the rest of the video, I'm just going to be chilling. I see the giant Kintama wall scroll. I'm just kind of going to be in here giving my rest of the thoughts on the narrative, which at this point is just the rest of the characters. So I just talked about the villains. I want to talk about our main characters, which, excuse me, again, if I'm being honest, very much a mixed bag. I said it before, this is Randy's game. You get a lot of backstory and characterization for him, some of which, again, hid behind the final bonding event. But a lot of it is his interactions with his family, with Sigmund and Shirley, and then how he kind of will react with the other members of the SSS and how they react to this information as well. It becomes very clear that Randy has a lot of demons, and he very much does not want to become his father or his uncle Sigmund, and is doing everything he can to leave that life of being a Jaeger behind him. But if push comes to shove and his family, like his new family, are in danger, he will not hesitate to put a motherfucker in the ground. And I really like that. I find his conflict just consistently interesting, and he's just a likable dude. Tio, her character pretty much, like, in terms of like her development, her arc, begins and ends in 0. In Azure, she doesn't have a lot to do with the main story, aside from just being part of the SSS. She's just kind of chilling. But I'm honestly really down for it. I like the idea that, yeah, like after being the focus of the last game, especially like the last chapter or so of it, she's just like, yo, I've had my character development. I'm just here to be a sassy bitch. I'm just here to really want to go to Michelin, which is their version, like I said, of Disneyland. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to roast people and I'm just going to be a Mishy fan. And that's what I'm here for. I'm like, this is great, honestly. Like, she is one of the funniest characters in the entire series, which how sassy she is, and that's chef's kiss. Rishia, like I've said, again, got the shirt. Character I really like. I think what I love about her is how she is a lawful evil character. She is an assassin, and she's like, yeah, I make no bones about that. I have killed a lot of people, and I'm gonna keep doing it. And like Randy, she doesn't feel like she deserves to be happy with her, the freaking list of sins. It's longer than Santa's naughty list. But at the same time, I feel like Randy's thing is, I want to leave this life behind me. Rish's to me is more of, I don't necessarily want to leave it behind me. I just want to know if there's other things I can do. Do I deserve to be happy? Hi, Bahamut. Do I deserve to be happy? And if so, is it, like, how do I handle that? Because this is all I've known. This is all I've done with my professional and adult life. This is all I've been trained for. But I found something else that's very different, but I love it. How do I reconcile these two parts of myself if I can? And I consistently like it. I like the fact that when she joins the party to fight Shirley, it's not this, she is a bad person, and I have people I want to protect, and, I am doing a good thing. It's, no, she hurt my friend. She tried to kill my friend to get me angry, and, bitch, you got exactly what you wanted. I'm gonna put you in the ground. I'm gonna put all of my training to good use. I'm gonna get creative on your ass if I have to. I'm like, no, yeah, this is a lawful evil character. This is fantastic. And like I said, I feel like she's a bit waifu-ized as as the series goes on, but I think she's really good here. Let's see, Noelle. So Noelle's whole thing is she is very passionate about the city of Crossbell, and her dad was part of the military, which is why she is as well. Her sister's part of the police, and her dad had died, and it was one of those, like, yeah, it's clear one of the other countries did it. Like, if I'm correct, it wasn't an accident. He wasn't, like, assassinated. But because it was clear another country did it, there was no real punishment for it. And so she's always kind of had that hatred toward the other countries. And so, once the Croys do their thing and do their takeover, Noelle sides with them. Because she's like, no, I think this is what's best for Crossbell. And then when you confront her, it's very clear that she is conflicted. She's like, siding with them is what's best for Crossbell, and that's what I want. But I know what they're doing is wrong. And so my heart's not in it. Even though it's like my soul is in it, but my heart isn't. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I really, really like that conflict. Also, she's a car nut, which I am not, but anytime she just gets to talk about how much she loves cars and driving, like, she's just adorable. I love this character. Lecter is not a Crossbell character, because he technically originates in Sky, and I would argue he has more plot relevance in Cold Steel. But I think he peaks in Crossbell. Just both in Zero and Azure. Anytime he's on screen, it's an absolute treat. Like, Dudley, I think, is fine. I don't have, like, a big reaction to him. Kind of the same with, like, Sergei and Zeit, although he's a big dog, so I love dog characters. Anytime a dog character is playable, I'm like, I have to use the dog. Rapide was, like, the only character I played of Vesperia. Like, I'm avoiding Lloyd, Ellie, and Wazy. I'm trying to think if Cecile, I think, is the only other character I want to say anything about. I like her a lot. She's not super important. She is she is a nurse. She is Guy's ex. They only broke up because he died. And she's kind of like a big sister to Lloyd. And the vibe I always got from them, I don't remember if this is something that was spelled out or if it was just kind of, this is my interpretation, is that Lloyd always had a thing for her. But, she was dating his brother, and they were going to get married. Not in a spiral kind of way where his brother was like, oh, you like her? I'm going to take her because fuck you. It was just kind of happened to happen. And then after Guy died, he's like, I can't be here anymore. I gotta do my own shit. And he kind of became his own man. Cecile, really devoted herself to her work. And then when Lloyd came back, she saw him still as a little brother, but also as his own man. But also as kind of a Guy replacement. And it's something that they don't really delve into, but that was kind of what I got from it was Cecile has interest in Lloyd. It's not as big as like Ellie's or Noelle's or anything. And it's not something that the game's like, even in Reverie, where it's like, hey, you get a scene with all the girls going, I love you. Cecile doesn't get one, which I like, because to me it feels like it's an option. Like it's something she's thought about. Like he's a man now, and a man that looks and acts a lot like the man I loved. But Lloyd and Guy are still different people. And pursuing something there was, aside from just feeling weird, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for me, and it's not healthy for him, so I'm not going to. And I think Lloyd kind of feels the same way. And that just kind of subtle but interesting, complex relationship I fucking love. It is honestly one of my favorites in Crossbell. But then we get to the characters that I don't really care much for. So, Wazy. I think he's okay. I just never really got into him. And like I said earlier, I think his backstory is really good and really interesting. And it excuse me. It definitely gives some context to his character. But it's hidden behind a hidden mechanic that I wasn't able to unlock for him. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's non-canon. And without that really interesting backstory, I think Wazy's fine. Lloyd. I think Lloyd is a very likable character. Lloyd is at his best when he can just be witty as hell. Like, there's a couple lines I remember, like, he can have a line when he's doing a fishing minigame where he's like, yeah, it's time for my, 8 leave, or 8 lure, 1 rod style, or something like that. I got a really good laugh out of that. Or when he's dealing with Tio in, the Mishy mission, and she's like, no, this is how Mishy works. This is all the important lore. You have to pay attention. He's like, this is one cult I can't bust. Laughed really fucking hard at that. I think it's great. My problem with Bannings is he has no character arc. Not that he has no character, because it is there. But the Lloyd, at least for me, my interpretation of his character, the Lloyd you get in the beginning of Trails from Zero is the exact same dude at the end of Trails to Azure. He's not like an idealistic cop that becomes more cynical. He's not a jaded cop that becomes a lot more hopeful. He's I lost my brother. And that's also not a thing for him. He's like, I need to find out who killed my brother. I need to get closure. It's not. It's rarely, Guy is brought up. It's very clear that Guy meant the world to him. But having to solve his brother's murder is not something he talks about very often. So it's like, oh, that's a really interesting character arc that could have happened. Or a personal story arc. I guess this isn't a thing. He does not feel like a different person. Getting Kia, having to look after a daughter doesn't make him feel like he's a different person. It's not like he learns empathy or responsibility. He's like, no, I kind of already have these. Lloyd is the stabilizing factor of the SSS. He is the one that helps the other characters through their emotional burdens, through their character arcs, which is not inherently a bad thing to have someone like that. That's what Uncle Iroh is in Avatar. The difference is, in Avatar, Iroh's 60, 65? He's an older dude who's been through shit and is a side character. So for him to be the one who's the grandfatherly guiding everybody is fine. For this to be the protagonist who's about the same age as everyone else, but he's like, no, I kind of got it all figured out. It's not that it makes him super unlikable because he seems really cocky. It's just, I wish you were as interesting as you are likable, because he's very likable. I just never found him that interesting. It's I want to see you grow. I want to see your motivation, and it's just not there. There might have been something I missed, I won't lie, but again, it's this was my experience with the game, and I found Lloyd really lacking. Now, I will also say, like, don't get me wrong, like, Reen and Cold Steel 1 and 2, I think is also not very good. I think Reen's a lot better in 3 and 4. I think Van is great, and I think, like, Kevin in his one game is great. Estelle is, like, my favorite character in the series. But he's not the worst, because I think that's Reen in 1 and 2, but Reen redeems himself, and to me, Lloyd just never quite does. Then we get Ellie. Ellie is the worst character in the game. Well, I have to think, like, it's one of the antagonists. No, she is. She is the worst main character in the game. She is one of the worst main characters in the whole series. I am going to be perfectly honest about that. I think she's the biggest waste of a character. And let me rephrase that. I don't want to say she is a waste of a character. She is a wasted character. Because there's a difference. Gaius, waste of a character. They don't really do much with him. Honestly, there's probably other people in Cold Steel, and I don't want to just keep picking on it. The thing with Ellie, she is the main girl, she is the main heroine, and so you think she's going to get a lot of focus, there's going to be like a lot of, you know, building this relationship or whatever. The relationship building between her and Lloyd is there, it's fine, I guess, it's not the best, not super interesting, and I think it's because Ellie is not interesting. There's an early scene, I believe it's in, like, chapter 1, no, I think it's chapter 2, excuse me. I believe it's in chapter 2 of Trails from Zero, where Lloyd and Ellie have a conversation about what they want to do, like, their ties to Crossbell, what they want to see happen in Crossbell, and what the SSS means to them. And she's like, look, dude, like, one parent of mine was really involved in Erebonia, the other was really involved in Calvard, and all of this shit, all this political bullshit, drove them apart. All of this stuff, it destroyed my family. Now, my dad, or excuse me, my grandpa is, like, a speaker. Like, he is part of the government, and I am still here working with him because this is my home. And I want to do what I can to make it a better place. I don't want what happened to me to happen to other people, to other kids. I don't want to see broken homes if I can avoid it. If I'm being really honest, I don't think me going around and, you know, helping Mrs. Johnson find her cat is going to actually fix this. I don't think running around in the Geo front and finding lost kids is going to help that. And I'm not saying that those aren't, like, these people do need help, and they are the citizens, and we need to help the citizens. Like, I get that. I feel like with my political expertise, I could be doing so much more than the bullshit I'm doing now. And it bothers me that I feel like I'm not helping. But if this is where I'm being placed, and I can help people, I can make something of a difference, I'm gonna stick with it, and hopefully it can pay dividends later. At least that was kind of the vibe I got from her. I'm like, I really like this. This is good motivation. This is really interesting. What do you mean this is all she gets? What do you mean she, like, doesn't get much else? Like, Noelle had this whole thing about how she has this conflict between, I want to help the Croys because of what it means for Crossbell, but I think they're being terrible people. The Croys are like Ellie's second family. Belle is her best friend. Dieter, she calls him Uncle Dieter. That's her guy. Not in a romantic way. She's like, that's like someone I'm super close to. And she has, like, no reaction to them being evil. She does not have the same conflict. Her role in the party is she is the face. She is like, I am the diplomat, I'm the negotiator, all this kind of crap. It, like, never happens. During the trade conference where you're talking to Osborne from Erebonia and you're talking to Rocksmith from Calvard, it's Lloyd that does those conversations. In Zero, when you're talking to Garcia, who's like the representative of the Mafia because shit happened, it's Lloyd that does that. When Hayue comes into town, another competing Mafia, who handles that? It's Lloyd. Like, it's always Lloyd that is the face of the party, which I get it, he's the main character, he's the leader, but that's literally what Ellie's role is, and she doesn't do it. And, like, wow, there's so much potential for you to have, like, this amazing conflict because your best friend and your uncle are crazy evil people. And she's just like, yeah, I'm not really gonna have much to say. Like, when you're going to save your party members, like, we gotta go get Tio because that's our homegirl. We gotta go get Noelle. We gotta go get Randy. They're like, oh shit, You know what we should do? We need someone that can give this, like, impassioned, great political speech and, like, condemning the Croys for what they're doing and how it's not right for Crossbell. Who do we know that's, like, a really charismatic person that can talk about politics and stuff? Oh, that's right! Speaker McDowell! We should go get him! Yeah! Oh, by the way, while we're over there, we can probably also save Ellie, and we should. So she's literally an afterthought when you're getting your party back together. So we have, we have a main character who's likable, but not super interesting, and has, I see Bomb peeking through, but has no real character arc. We have a main love interest who is really interesting, but the game, like, almost seems like every opportunity they have to really focus in on the things that make her interesting, just completely ignore it, and either give it to someone else or completely ignore it. Another main character who gets no real context for his story, if you play the game wrong, I suppose. So that's half your main party that, for me, just either fall flat or are disappointing. And, I mean, I guess I give my score on the narrative. It's 2.5 out of 5. I wish I could give it higher, and I feel like most people would. Most people probably would say, it's like, yeah, this is like a 4 at worst, because there's so much good shit, there's so much interesting shit. And man, like, the character work, when it's really good, is really, 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 really good. I'm like, yes, that is all true! Except when it's not. Because, man, it's like of your main party, there's 3 really good ones. 3 not so much. You have this last chapter where it just builds. It's so cool, it's so interesting. And then it just falls apart. You have, like, some of these, like, really good chapters and moments, like the entirety of the trade conference, that's just focused on all the political stuff happening in the city and its situation. And then the terrorist thing, which is cool, but lacks real lasting impact. It feels like 50-50. And it's like I was saying a little bit ago with, like, the main characters, especially with Lloyd and Ellie, I feel disappointed, and that is what I think of when I think of Azure. Like, that's the first emotion that comes to mind. Disappointment. I like it more than I dislike it. Like, if we tally up everything, that's 2.5, 3.5, and 5. That's what? 3 plus 2 is 5, so that's 10. Half and half is 11. It's an 11 out of... Excuse me. In total, that's an 11 out of 15. That's definitely, like, that's a positive. That's more than half. That's more than, like, 2/3. So clearly, I like the game a lot more than I dislike it. And there's some parts of the game that, like, I'm really passionate about. Like, the characters that I love, I really love. Like, Randy and Tio, to me, are 2 of the best characters in the whole series. Like, they are in a top 10 for sure. And then, yeah, Arios, Rishia, they're in maybe, like, a 15 to 20 range. Probably not Noelle, but, you know, she would be up there eventually. But I also have to include, like, everyone from Sky, because Sky's phenomenal. And the members of Class 7 I really like, and some of the other side characters, like Aurelia, who's an absolute goddess. But aside from that, the things I love, I really, really love. But very clearly, the things that bother me a lot. And I'm just like, this game was so close to being just great. Like, if you fuck with the bonding point system and just, like, make it, like, you're aware of it and you have a way to track it, that's a lot better. Or just, yeah, like, you can have all those conversations, you're not limited to one. Or just make those conversations part of the game. It's like, literally just don't do the bonding point thing. And it's like, yeah, it's like, before shit happens, Lloyd, like, go talk to all your party members. And you get those last scenes. You know, the romance ones you would have to tweak, so Lloyd's not, like, straight pimping with everybody. But, like, the Randy, Rishia, Wazy ones, because they're not romantic, give me those. Tweak Tio's anyways. Like, that's weird and it's uncomfortable and I hate it. But, like, give her just, like, the stuff about, like, yeah, I'm going to talk to my family who I haven't seen in a long time. I want to know where that goes. That sounds great. Just have Grimwood call them out. And even if their response is, you know, we might be hypocritical because we are using Kia's power, but she is choosing to do that. We're not manipulating her into doing it, and that's our daughter. That fixes that part. I still have my problems with the relationship with Kia. I won't lie. But right there, like, that's another point given to gameplay because bonding points have been adjusted, which is another point also given to narrative, and I'd probably, like, give another half point. Like, the game would go up a lot more. And I feel like that's what it deserves to be. Because all of that great, phenomenal content is there. And it's so close to me to just realizing it. But just some of what to me are these fundamental problems hold it back from genuine greatness. Instead, it's really good, but unfortunately really flawed. Now, I don't have full scores for all the other games, so I don't know where Azure falls, but that's an 11 out of 15, and I can tell you this, that's a lot lower than Sky, like FC and SC. I don't really know about the third. The third's kind of its own weird mess, but it's fun as fuck. But that's my review of Trails to Azure. This took, in addition with, because I also filmed the cruise video today, this was like all day filming this. As you can tell, where it's like, it was, you know, like it was very sunny. It's like, oh yeah, I have plenty of time. And now it's night and I have multiple locations, multiple shirts throughout the day. But, yeah, thanks for sticking around and watching this. I don't know how long this is in total. It might be like an hour and a half. I might have hit 2 hours. I don't know, but as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this series. I'm very passionate about this game. Even with the problems that, to me, I think it has, it's still, warts and all, very much worth talking about. Very, very much worth playing. And, I mean, I know when it comes out again in March, I plan on replaying. I need to play it again. I need to play Translation of Zero as well. I'm very much looking forward to playing it. Especially to see if some of these things get changed. Like, I don't think they've messed with bonding points at all. But, like, the relationship with Kia and the way that's, like, written at the end of the game, and even the way Grimwood talks to them, I don't know. Could very much have been a translation thing, and if that's the case, this score might go up quite a bit. 'Cause I'm like, no. It got a lot better, and it was, you know, it was just little issues with the translation. Some things got lost or mistranslated, and it happened. But I can only review what I have played, and like I said, my interpretation of the game and my memories of the experience. But overall, it's still an 11. I still liked it. I still liked it a lot more than I disliked it. And I highly recommend playing it, and I'm not sure which one I'll do next, but I'll see you then.